What can we start with today on raising daughters so we don't screw them up? I got a lot of
Mm,
controversial questions there when I posted that
yeah.
link on the community tab. There's a few there that a lot of you guys are going to want to hear about. How old's your daughter now, Rolla?
She just turned 23 last month.
Okay, and I got basically 12 going on 22 on my hands. Um, I really started to put when did you start to put a concerted effort on making sure you were doing something useful as a father with a daughter? Like when did you come to realize like I have a real responsibility
Mm.
here not to screw this up?
Yeah, I mean, everybody asked me this question. It's like it's the Chris Rock joke question, which is, what do you do to keep your baby off the pole?
Mm,
How do you keep her from being corrupted by this society? And from the very earliest ages, and like, remember, my daughter was born in 1998. So she grew up during Disney Channel, right? She grew up with Hannah Montana. She grew up with when Disney Channel was actually something that was like a High School Musical, right? Those are like the early 2000s kind of stuff. Maybe you don't know what I'm talking about because your daughter's just kind of getting into her tweens right now, I guess.
mm,
But when all that was going down, I just tried to be to have fun with her when she was really young, right? And I didn't try to make her girly. I didn't try to make her more like a boy. I just kind of just let it go, let the cards drop where they will. And she was already girly to begin with.
mm-hmm.
And the best thing that I had going for me was that I had a really strong marriage. I still do have a very strong marriage, and my wife is very involved with her because she always wanted a daughter, right? She always wanted to have a daughter to sort of be best friends with, and she's really good friends with as well as being her mother. And my wife is probably more disciplinarian than I am, I think, but I think maybe that might be a father-daughter thing more than like me, being one way or the other. It's just like that. Maybe that's the way it works out. I would say also, you have to remember this, and because I'm going to reference this probably throughout this whole show, is my brother has a son who is about this, just maybe like 6 months younger than my daughter. So I kind of took some cues from how he was raising his son. And then he has also another daughter. So I have a niece and a nephew, and his daughter is about like 18 she's 19 now. So she's 18, 19 years old. My daughter is actually the oldest. And then my nephew, who is maybe 6 months younger than my daughter. So I'm growing up with this. I'm learning about this. And you also have to remember that when I was a younger father, when I was raising my daughter, who was between the ages of 0 and 10, I'm also in school. And so daddy's always going to his classes. Dad's doing a lot of work. I always had a lot of projects going. I was playing in a band at that time. I was also I was working 40, sometimes 50 hours a week. And I was also going to school part-time to finish up my degree, because I went back to college to finish up my degree. Then it was a degree, and then it was degrees after that. And so I had a lot going, but I always had weekends off. And I think one of the things that was a little bit weird about my situation was my wife worked weekends because she's a medical professional. So she's working, kind of odd shifts. So it wasn't anything weird for her to just spend time with me and just spend time with her mom. And then when we will all get together, we'd be a family. We were like a little family, right? I only have one daughter. And so there was, I don't know if there was a concerted effort or any kind of concern for that in the early days. It was when she got to be 12, right? Once they get to the tween years and then they get into high school, that's when the chips are down, and that's when you kind of learn who they're really going to be. Mm-hmm. And then that's when I was, I think, a little bit more instrumental. She was always been very girly. She still is very girly. She's a pageant competitor, pageant winner. And she's very smart. She's doing her postgraduate work right now. She's getting her master's degree. So she's very smart. In some ways, probably better than me at math. And I don't know how that happened, but I think a lot of it has to do with a two-parent family, first of all, because if you've read anything in my third book, which is Positive Masculinity, the first third of that book is dedicated to red pill parenting. And there's an entire chapter in the first part of that book called Raising Daughters. That's why I wanted to do this with you.
Yeah.
And so
I'm just looking for a picture that I took this weekend when we went for a cruise with my daughter. I'm going to text it to you just so you can see a recent to get an idea, but carry on.
I wish there was some, like, it would be very easy for me to give you like some, checklist of here, do this. But I think probably the basis is, there's a few things that I mentioned in the third book. I think the most important one for most guys right now is you got to be red pill aware to begin with, and you got to have a strong marriage. If you want to raise a strong independent daughter, right? If you want to have a daughter who is resistant, who is durable. My approach to parenting has always been, I was really against homeschooling in the beginning. Mm-hmm. My brother homeschooled his son and his daughter for a while until they got logistically, it was just too much. Right. And I was very much against that. And now I've kind of softened to the idea. I can understand why parents would want to remove, I think for different reasons now, but they would want to remove their kids from certainly a public education. I don't know about private, but like certainly public education, and want to educate them themselves. Great. Now I'm on board. Back then I wasn't so much, but now I understand. Like I understand. I think how the process works a little bit better.
So just for clarity's sake, like, when did you actually come to the realization, like, I have a proper job to do here? This is important. I don't want to screw this up. Like, was it when she was 12, you said, when she hit tweens, or was it younger?
I came to that conclusion a lot earlier than that. And again, this is me.
Because like mine was when I was going through my divorce, and she was like between 3 and 4. And that's when the realization hit me like a frying pan to the forehead. And I'll tell you more about that in a second, right?
When I was in college and I was studying psychology, part of my basic, education, Psych 101 was you had to take child psychology as a requirement. Yeah. And at that time, my daughter was about 3 or 4, maybe almost 5 at that point. And one thing I learned was that children do not think in abstract terms until they're like in their 20s. Like your brain is not fully, a human's brain is not really fully developed until you're about 20, 21 years old. At least that's by popular, neurological science and everything. But certainly at 3, 4, 5 years old, children do not think in abstract terms. I'll give you an example how that works. Like, and maybe you've had this happen to you too. Like if my daughter at that age really loved macaroni and cheese, right? And so you'd make, like shells and cheese or something like that, or whatever. And then you change things up, right? And you get like dinosaur shaped, macaroni and cheese, and it's the same thing, right? It's exactly this. It's pasta and it's cheese, right? You say, and they won't eat it. And they're like, that's not macaroni and cheese. It doesn't look like macaroni and cheese. It kind of smells a little bit. They won't eat it because the shape looks a little bit different. Or it's if you pour the same amount of liquid in a glass that's squat, and you pour another one that's in a tall glass, they automatically think that the tall glass has more. Right. Because it's taller, like it's more, it's got to be more volume. It's not, it's actually the exact same, but they can't think in abstract terms like that. Yeah. And that transfers into a lot of different ways at how children learn. And that one class really taught me a lot. And if there's a point where I realized I've got a job to do here, it was realizing that when a kid hits 4 or 5 years old, they're like sponges. And at that point, right. And I think this is probably one of the most sinister, realizations.
I was just wrapping up the whole divorce BS.
Yeah. Yeah, because they learn so much during those formative years. And that's when a woke society really wants to get, especially to daughters, but also to little boys. That's when they sort of indoctrinate those little boys. We always talk about how we teach little boys as if they're little girls. Yeah. It's almost this natural progression for the female-led gynocentric teachers to do that. But there's also the flip side to that, which is girls can do anything. Girls can go to the moon. They can be president. They can do, look here, Hannah Montana, secret superstar. She could do anything. And it's almost like the extreme for boys is, settle down, Go over there. If you can't learn like a girl, Johnny, go over in the corner over there. That's one side of the coin. The other flip side of the coin is girls need to do everything. We're going to the museum and we're going to, we're going to learn fine art and we're going to learn sculpture. And now we're going to go pick up bugs out of the garden or something like that. It's like this, everything is day camp for the girls, where the boys are just like, settle down, stop moving, learn like a girl, talk like a girl. And so it was right then, at about 3, 4, 5 years old. That's when little kids are like sponges. And it was right then that I
noticed there was a lot of like following around with everything that I did. A lot of like soaking up a lot of behavior and like day-to-day tasks. And I would start to involve her in a lot of things. Like if I had a task to do, like assemble an inversion table, for example, I'd be like, hey, you want to help daddy put this thing together? And she'd be right into it, man. Now it's like not even interested, but at like 3, 4, 5, right into it.
I've always been very creative, and so my daughter participated in a lot of the same artistic kind of stuff that I did. She never really she wanted to play drums. She still likes to kind of like play on my drum set downstairs, but that's about it. That's like, I could have taught her guitar. There's a lot of things I can teach her, but she always kind of leaned more towards the creative side of things. She liked to draw, and she liked to, do cutouts and things like that. And that kind of relates into what she, what she's like right now. But I think probably the best aspect, or the best thing that taught my daughter, is to live out a masculine ideal with her, right? To be like, how what Gandhi says, be the change you want to see in the world.